Um, I want to just share a few words of encouragement, and we're going to prepare to uh, have our meal together and then go home and share this day with our family. So today we celebrate the remarkable women who have nurtured and guided us on our life's journey. We honor and pay tribute to all mothers everywhere, birth mothers, mothers that adopted their children, foster moms, grandmothers, aunties, and all those who have been maternal figures in our lives. We honor their selflessness, their love, and devotion. If your mother is still with you in the land of the living, because in this earthly realm, I should say, because my mother, who passed in 1991, is still with me constantly. She's just not in this physical body anymore. So if your mother is no longer with you in the physical body, um, tell her how much you appreciate and love her if she is still with you here. You can't say that enough. And you know, the funny thing is, saying I love you is wonderful. And saying I appreciate you is wonderful, but it's so much better to show it. There's nothing like feeling like you're loved. There's nothing like feeling like you are loved. Someone just did something that made me feel loved. You ever experienced that? Where they didn't have to say I love you, you just felt it. And wow, that felt like love. So let your mom know that you love and appreciate her. If she, like me, like my mom, has passed on, reach out to another mother on today and offer her words of comfort and encouragement. I always like to start off Mother's Day by just sending out Mother's Day greetings to women that are close and those that are not so close, those that are in my circle, those that I know, because you never know what someone is going through. And you never know how that little bit of Happy Mother's Day. Hope you have a wonderful day. Be blessed on today. How that may lift someone's spirit. But reach out to another mother. Don't assume she's okay. Don't assume because she's smiling, she's happy. Don't assume because she has all the bling bling that everything is good. Because appearances can be foolish. Let her know that she's not alone. There's so many mothers that today, maybe their children are grown, they're in a nursing home. Some moms don't see their children. They may live out of state and they're not, their children may be, their child may be incarcerated on today. Or their child may be deceased, have predeceased them in this life. Let them know that here and now that they are still loved and their labor as a mom is valued. Also, I just got 3 short points I want to share with you. The first one is God's grace. And I want to share this from my own subjective position, having raised 4 children, being a mom that didn't always know and do the right thing. In retrospect, sometimes I stumbled miserably. Sometimes I fell off the wagon completely and didn't know if I could recover, but it was God's grace that met me in my insufficiency. Bless you. God's grace that made the difference. So when we read the poem, In My Daughter's Eyes, and we hear this witness about, even though my daughter may think that I am strong, sometimes I'm weak. And as moms, sometimes we put up a good front, a good face, so that our children may not know really what we're struggling with. And sometimes we can't hold it together and we just fall apart. Don't beat up on yourself. Don't do it. It happens to the best of us. Get back up and start all over again. God's grace will meet you wherever you stumble. Don't be afraid of saying I stumbled, or don't be ashamed of being down. God's grace meets you at the place where you fall. And it's God's grace that extends the hand to help you get up. It's done it for me, do it for you. Number 2, know this, that your story, Mom, is just the prologue for your child's story. That your child will have their own story, but you provide the context. You provide the setting, the backdrop for their story. And know that although you may want to write the script for your children, you may want to direct them in their part in life, know that at some point you have to let go. You pour into them what you can, while you can, when you can, but the goal is to let go. My children will always tell you that I would tell them that I do not build nests, I grow wings. I learned this from my mom, that my goal is to release you out into the world. And if I've done my part to what degree I could, your wings will carry you. And if they can't, God's grace will meet your child at their point of weakness. Know that God's grace is stronger than what you can give them at any point. So even if you feel like I didn't do all I could do as a mom, I didn't know all I needed to know when I became a mom, I wasn't the best one, I wasn't there for my child, it's okay. Don't beat up on yourself. God's grace is still there. And then finally, the least among us, that Bettina shared in the opening scripture, is where our humanity meets the face of the divine, the least among us. As we think about today, I want us to, whatever we're doing and however we're celebrating, with whomever we're celebrating, think about those that are the least amongst us. And remember, the least comes in different contexts, shapes, form, and fashion. There are those that are the least because they lack resources. They lack the dollar, they lack access to certain resources, healthcare, housing, food. You know, there seems to be barriers here, there, and everywhere for them. And that certainly is a place of feeling like you are less than, or thinking, seeming like you have less than others, because indeed you do. And as one that embraces the humanity and divinity of our Christ, we know that it is our task to bring into fruition a world where that kind of least does not exist, where we all have access to all the basic needs of life. No one should be wondering where they will lay their head down any night. Certainly no child. No one should be concerned about where their next meal will come from. No one, especially not a child. No one should be concerned, do I feed my child or do I take them to the doctor? I don't have enough money to do both. No one should be concerned with that. No parent. No one should be concerned about allowing your child to go out and play or walk the streets, because there may be a stray bullet without a name on it that cuts them down. No parent, no one should be concerned about that. The least of these. But let me tell you that when we think of that opposite side of the least of these, there are those who seem to have it all. Those whose houses glitter, behind the white picket fence. Where you walk in there and it's so beautiful, you don't want to touch anything. And it seems that they have it all. The cars, the house, the healthcare, the food, those to assist them in life. But what they need most, they have the least. What is most vital to life, they have the least. What is important the most, they have a deficit in. And that is that loving connection beyond their obsession with materialism. Things don't make you happy in life. And things certainly don't make a home. Money can buy you a whole lot of stuff, but money can't give you love. And if truth be told, money can buy you health care, but it can't give you health. If so, only the poor would die and not the wealthy and the rich. Cancer does not discriminate against anyone. Mental health does not discriminate against anyone. It doesn't insulate your child from the effects of mental health challenges because you live in a castle. It doesn't insulate them from substance abuse and use because you live in a castle. It may allow you the privilege of protecting them from the gaze of others, but it doesn't protect them from the effects of these illnesses. So when we think about the least of these, let's broaden our understanding and definition so that every child, don't just assume because they look like a little snotty-nosed little kid that this poor little thing. They may be happier and more well off than the child that has the designer shoes and clothes and riding to school in his fancy car. Let's not make assumptions. As I closed yesterday, I had a wonderful time with my family at my daughter's house as we celebrated the women in my family for Mother's Day. And as the conversation evolved and we talked about the hard times that we're facing today in this country and the prices going up, everything. Every time I go to the store, I'm just amazed. I seem to get less and less and it costs more and more. Groceries, whether it's a gas tank, groceries, milk, eggs, basic stuff. You used to say, okay, you can't afford the beef and the meat, but you can at least buy, the butter and the eggs and the milk, but not anymore. But we were talking about this, and those in my generation, we had to laugh and chuckle because we said, these hard times as they come, from my generation, we understand and know how to get through and how to struggle. We know how to not just to survive, but to thrive. Why? Because our mothers and our fathers, they were ingenious in taking a little bit and making it much. They didn't have to have the steak on the table, but you'd think you were eating steak when you ate those beans with a little piece of fat back in it and some cornbread or hoe cake bread. You thought you were eating steak. They knew how to say, okay, don't focus on what you don't have. Can you focus on what you got? What's in your cupboard? What's in your pocketbook? There's a commercial saying, what's in your wallet? What do you have? As mothers, as parents, I raised my children through hard times. You may not believe it, but there's times I open the cupboard. You go and you look at the refrigerator, you close it, you open it again. Maybe I missed something. Maybe there's something you open the cupboard. I thought I had this in there, and it's not there. I know what it is to pinch pennies. I know what it is to look between the pillows on the couch to find some change that was left there, or last winter's coat pockets to see if I could find some money that I forgot about. I know what that is. And I know it is to have your children looking at you and expecting more from you, and you wanting to deliver and saying to your children, as my mother used to do, God will make a way. Always God. God will make a way. My mom used to send me to school. And I got my grandson who's just called in, and I have to accept it because they always come first. When I was 13 years old, I'm going to end here. I was in the 8th grade. Hello. Hi. And lunch at that time, they just started giving us lunch at school. Up through middle school, or was junior high at that time, we had to come home for lunch. And my mother would make us a bowl of Rita in the wintertime, or with Tina, or we'd have what was it, an apple butter sandwich. She'd have something for us. But now we had lunch in school. We didn't come home. And lunch was, how much you think lunch was then? 15 cents. 35 cents. Lunch was 35 cents. And I can't tell you the mornings that I left that house going to school. My mom didn't have 35 cents. And she'd say to me, go on to school, you'll have it by lunchtime. I never doubted my mother because she always came through. I didn't know where the money was coming from. And I didn't think about where it was coming from. I knew if she said it, she'd do it. And sure enough, before lunchtime, I get a call to come down to the principal's office, the front office, and they give me my 35 cents for lunch. I didn't know till I was grown and many, many years later, and it just brought tears to my eyes. My mom had a friend, or befriended the lady that worked in the front office at the school. And she would call her and ask her to give me 35 cents for lunch so I could eat. Neither of them ever told me then. But when I think about that now, I think about the many, many sacrifices that she made, that my parents together made, to make sure in a world that didn't give us access readily to what others had, that we didn't go hungry. And many nights, it was some red beans, lima beans, butter beans, with a piece of fatback and hoe cake bread. That was our dinner, and some rice. That was our dinner, many nights. In fact, meat came on Sundays. My mom would fry chicken Sunday night. We go to church in the Bronx and stay there all day. During the week, we ate what was set before us at the table. And we ate, our bellies was full. None of us were found nourished, but we made it through. She didn't make excuses, and she didn't whine about what she didn't have or what we didn't have, but she would say, God will make a way. As I became a parent and a mother, that lesson, when I was confronted with hard times, I had to learn how to swallow my pride at times. Sometimes it takes that, Mom. You got to swallow your pride. No, you don't have to lower your standards, but sometimes you got to swallow your pride, because pride will block your blessing. And sometimes you got to swallow your pride to do what you have to do to take care of your children. Love is sacrificial. Being a mother is sacrificial. Moms, I want to encourage you today, wherever you're at, whatever you're going through, that better days are coming. You will get through this. And in fact, as a community, we're pulling together, all of us, to say that the next generation, we will lessen the load. I didn't have to call the school office and ask them to give my daughter money for lunch. So I kicked it up a notch. My parents didn't formally go to college, but they put their children through college. They kicked it up a notch. They never had the convenience of the things that we have, but I have it, and my children have it to a greater degree. It's our challenge and our task. When I think about my parents and I think about my mom, 11 children she birthed and raised. 4 of them or 5 or more had challenges, physical, emotional, on the spectrum. She buried 2 of her sons 6 months apart to violent death. 2 of her boys at a young age. She didn't withdraw and go into the closet and in her room and not come out, pull the cover over her head, which she could have. She wasn't a drinking woman, but she could have said, listen, I'm going to check out. I'm going to drown myself in substance and just never come out. But she had 5 children that were still underage. She had to raise when she lost these 2 boys 6 months apart. And she did it. She did it. I'm saying this to encourage you. No, it's not an easy thing. And anyone can tell you to go through and what you should do when you're down. And yes, she cried. Yes, she had pain. Yes, she hurt. And yes, it affected her deeply. But know that you're not alone. She had a deep faith in God. My mother did. She didn't have a formal education, but she was educated in the spirit. And she understood that God was greater than any obstacle or mountain that she could face. And she put that in me. And I thank her for that. I try to put it in my daughters, and I challenge each of you moms. You don't have to be superwoman. You don't have to be superhuman. Just know that there's a super God that dwells on the inside of you, with you, through you, and will never leave you or forsake you. And when you're at your wits' end, fall back on that which is greater than yourself. Knowing that source, your source, that love that birthed you here will carry you through. I'm a witness. I pray you have a happy Mother's Day. Thank you for being with me today and being with us.